Who likes a chicken twisty?
Eavesdroppin.
Howdy doody dandy, Michelle.
Howdy doody dandy. Honestly, I don't know why, but you just made me think of Adamant. Prince Charming.
Ridicule is nothing to be scared of.
The 80s.
Is it because he's dandy?
Yes.
I'm the dandy highwayman.
Maybe.
Have I told you my Adamant story? Of course I bloody have. This is me, Geordie, by the way. Welcome to our podcast, Eavesdroppin.
Comedy podcast. I'm Michelle. Hi, welcome. Anyone who knows us knows that we love the 80s. And in fact...
And we love tangents, because we were about to go off on one quite wildly there.
My partner, Andreas, fiance, fiance.
Yeah.
He loves the radio, Swedish radio.
A radio. Okay, so what's on there? A dum-dum diddle, my darling fiddle. That's an ABBA song. They didn't play that at the Voyage, did they?
No, they fucking didn't, and that was a good one.
It's a shit song, Michelle. What are you on about?
No, what they did play was a song Andreas had never heard. I knew immediately all the words.
What? Fly, fly like an eagle in the sky. That one?
No.
That was a bit weird, wasn't it?
It's from the 80s, not Swedish.
Oh, you're talking about the radio. Sorry, I'm confused.
I'm talking about the radio.
I thought we were talking about our Voyage event.
Yes, no, a song came on from the 80s. Safety dance. A safety dance.
Oh, man. That is a classic.
Men Without Hats.
That is bloody classic. They've got another song as well, and I only recently heard it.
What is it?
I can't remember, but there is one other song.
Famous song you can't remember.
Oh.
Okay. And I just said to Andreas, my God, the 80s. What an era.
What an era.
You'd never get safety dance. Now.
This reminds me of something my kids say, which is, you can really dance. And I think it's from a TikTok or something. I don't know.
Lols.
Lols. We're two grown women, by the way. Welcome. Welcome to our comedy podcast that we talk about horrible things like murder, like cults, like sex trafficking. I don't know. What else do we talk about? Do we talk about that?
All sorts of fucking terrible dark shit.
Terrible dark shit, but we try and make it light. Well, we talk about it as friends, I suppose, would talk about it. That's what's going on here, really, isn't it, Michelle?
Well, it is. And for anyone who's just joined us, and I will say, late
Welcome.
to the party. Oh, yes, welcome. Late to the party.
And then she's going to bag you out. Yeah.
We tell each other stories, essentially. That's how we do it.
It's nice.
It is nice, but I felt like the other day when you were telling me about... Oh, fuck, what were you telling me about?
Oh, God, I can't even remember. It was the Amazon review killer.
The Amazon review killer.
Yeah.
I felt, Geordie, like when we do one-handers in the future, because we will do them, dear people, I need to take notes. And then we need to have like a Q&A at the end and some thoughts and
Why,
theories.
because you've forgotten what I've told you?
No, because I have questions and I think it requires a discussion, because there's so much in it. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back, people, and listen.
It's only a week ago. Well, I have to say that we've got other news because we have a lovely community out there. They're called eavesdroppers. That's you, dear person listening right now, dear eavesdropper. And that's you, Charlene Happy Chappy, who Michelle keeps calling your mum Magzo, and I keep telling her off because her mother's name is Margaret Michelle. But Margaret actually doesn't mind you calling her Magzo. I've had news. It's news hot off the press. She likes it.
Love you even more, Magzo. Magzo. I've got all the names for you. We love you. I love that you love a nickname, an Aussie nickname.
He's Magzo, not Maggot, like you.
Can you believe I'm a grown woman and I still get called Maggot?
I love that.
To the day I die, until I have maggots through my body, although I won't because I'm going to be cremated.
Or lost down a crevasse.
Or lost down a crevasse where there are no maggots. No. And they'll find me like Utsi in 3,000 years and they'll be like, what's that thing in there? Oh, it's tofu. What the hell?
What a basic diet. Well, I'm also talking about other eavesdroppers now. I'm going to talk about Tamira, the modern mystic, who got in touch, as have the midlifers who we assumed were the comedians that Tamira was talking about. It wasn't them. And I have a little message here, Michelle, from Fonz, from the midlifers.
Amazing. Yeah. I'm excited.
Give me a moment and I'll try and find it. Hang on a second.
Hi, Eavesdroppin' girls. It's Fonz here from the Midlifers. I was listening to your pod today as I was driving. It was very funny because I was like, oh, I'm really enjoying this in a car ride, because normally I listen to you guys when I do my housework. But as I was driving, like, this is a really good episode. I'm really enjoying it. I didn't have the kids with me. It was really relaxing. Lo and behold, I hear the midlifers get a mention, but alas, we have not seen Psychic Tamira. It is not us who are the comedians. Thank you for thinking of us, though. I have to say I really, really enjoyed this episode. I liked hearing about the TV recommendations. I liked hearing about the telepathy. One thing I have to say regarding the autistic children with telepathy is that the Egyptians had more than 6 senses. So whether telepathy was one of those senses, I haven't looked into it, but that I think is worth noting. Have a wonderful evening or a wonderful day, and we'll catch you next time. Bye, guys.
Isn't that interesting? Now, I have listened to the Midlifers now. They're a lovely chitty-chatty pair of girls with a lot of celebrity facts. I like the factoids. Fonz seems to be able to retain some facts.
Unlike us.
I like that.
Fantastic.
So that's another podcast that people can listen to, but please don't stop listening to us. But also, I went to a podcast launch this week to a friend of mine and a lady that we had on Patreon, Lisa Porska, Norwegian comedian, who is now doing a podcast called Am I Crazy or ... And each episode will be looking into the ... Am I crazy or is it perimenopause? She's got a perimenopausal doctor, or she's not menopausal, she's just a doctor of menopause on, and she's talking to them. It's video as well. You get to watch them chatting.
Great.
Yeah. So I went to a podcast launch. We haven't had a launch.
Well, should we do a launch?
Yes.
Fuck it.
Let's launch, baby. Launch after 5 years.
We can be ladies who launch.
Let's do it. What will we do?
Do you know what? I actually thought in that whole conversation you were going to say, and after the midlifers' little factoid, I went and researched, and yes, the Egyptians do have a 6th sense.
I didn't. No, I didn't bother.
Oh,
sorry.
rude.
I know, I'm sorry, but I would like to look into that. But there's so many other things we've got to look into, Michelle. We've got an episode a week to put out here. I noticed they just had a nice little break. We've never had a break. We haven't stopped.
Going back to Fonz, great name.
And Mez. Fonz and Mez.
Beautiful. Fonz, I will say, in Europe, particularly in Italy and now in Switzerland, we don't have cheese twisties. What we have, exactly the same packaging. I'm going to put a picture up on the Patreon for anyone who can access that. They're called Fonzies.
Oh.
And they're fucking delicious. Not as delicious as cheese twisties, but Fonz, if you're a fan of the cheese twisty, I'm going to show you that this is an international thing.
Imagine if she's a fan of the chicken twisty. I mean, who's that? Who likes a chicken twisty? That stuff is rank. That's the devil's work.
It is the devil's work. It's in a green and yellow packet. It's all a bit wrong.
Do they still make them?
I don't know. It's up there with chicken salt. Evil.
Ugh.
A packet of Fonzies. There it is.
Nice. There you go. So there are other podcasts, but people, don't forget us. We're the most important. We're your number ones. We might even do a little bit of a swippy swappy, like maybe even have the midlifers on our Patreon.
Wouldn't that be something?
Yes, and we're definitely going to have Tamira, the modern mystic, on.
Good shit coming up.
And I've got some telerecs for you.
Oh, wonderful. Lay it on me.
Yannicka from Amsterdam has gotten in touch.
Mm-hmm.
She's on the Netflix now. She's Netflixing and chilling with her pair of pussies in Amsterdam.
She loves a double pussy, doesn't she? Oh, Yannicka.
She's smashing a TV show called The Diplomat, and I think I'm going to watch that next. She says it's politics and intrigue, not one for the kids.
Okay.
I took a recommendation from listener Steph, and I watched both series of Squid Game with my child. It's a bit like a snuff film. There's a lot of blood and a lot of shooting and a lot of death, but it's like a parable of society. Money is always number one. Money is king.
Red light.
That's all I'm going to say. Safka, she's on the mend now. I'm glad to hear that, Safka. Well done.
Lovely.
Her and fellow eavesdropper Shari saw Baby Girl recently with Nicole Kidman, but I think it's a bit saucy. I'm not quite sure what it is all about.
Okay.
I think it's sex. And I think it's about her being his boss. I don't know. I have no idea. But I have a one-word review from Safka, and it is meh.
Okay, interesting.
And I think Shari echoes that sentiment, although she was a bit more erudite than that.
She went, it's shit. Okay, that's interesting because Nicole Kidman's been all over the news lately, and I just happened to scroll past a story where it said and these are my words, what the fuck is with Nicole Kidman's earlobes? Apparently, they're down to her bloody collarbone. They've stretched out.
No.
So I don't know what's going on.
I think she's in for a bashing because I saw another clip somewhere of her having to be held up like a granny when she was walking.
Oh, no.
I will say also, though, I will continue to add what Safka said, which is she's planning to see The Last Showgirl with Pamela Anderson next. I'd like to see that.
Yes.
And The Brutalist with Adrian Brody.
Oh,
that's
my
next.
Goodness. Oh, that's wonderful.
So I look forward to her one-word or onomatopoeic reviews of those as well.
Well, do you know what? I have had no time for telly recently. Basically 1 hour to watch something. And you know what I choose?
It's Maths Australia, because that's what I'm doing as well.
It is. I am obsessed already.
Already there are a bunch of See You Next Tuesdays, aren't they? They've chosen the most oafish, narcissistic examples of Australian mankind that they can possibly find.
The men are fucking shameful.
Bunch of shits.
Oh my God, that prick who just walked down the island and said, I wanted a small, petite, blonde girl.
Well, now, interesting, because that guy reminds me of the one that you loved from Maths UK. The whole Polly, what's his guts? The Hey Nonny No guy.
Now listen, for anybody who did not catch our rundown of Maths UK, Show Dumpin'. We do have another podcast. Geordie and I don't argue. We did over that. We did not see eye to eye.
Yeah, the PE teacher. My daughter's watching it as well. She said, he's a PE teacher for primary school and he's standing there saying he wants younger, smaller, petite.
Thank you. Very telling.
She thinks he sounds like a perv.
Pervy educator, PE teacher.
Yes, the classic PE teacher. There is another PE teacher on there and he seems quite nice, but we'll wait and see.
Okay.
We're not going to give you any maths gossip because obviously it ruins it. And there is another podcast, but we're not going to do that either because we don't have the damn time.
Not this time around, but you know, look, when we become absolutely 100% self-funded podcasters because we're topping the charts, we'll do that one.
Meantime, you'll just have to put up with us talking shit. What have we got this week, Michelle?
Well, one word. Scams.
Don't click on that link. Don't think that Nigerian prince wants to give you $1 million.
Don't give him your maiden name.
Don't give them your date of birth.
It's a scam.
You'll get scammed.
This was a little bit inspired because the other morning I was in bed, Andreas was already up. I heard his phone ring. I could hear him talking to someone about his bank details.
What?
And I just had a feeling, babe, you're being scammed. But I also did not want to yell out, get the fuck off that phone. Someone's trying to scam you because he's a smart guy.
Give him a chance.
Yeah, I just thought, look, he'll know if it's real or fake. So the conversation went on. And I just thought, oh my God, this is too much. So I got up and I was like mouthing to him like, what the fuck's going on? And he's like pointing to the phone, my account's been hacked. And I was like, hang up. Tell them you need to check your details, hang up. So he hung up and I was like, did you give them any personal information? And he was like, no. And I was like, okay, thank God. And I said, come on, let's just check your bank account online. So we did, nothing. We rang the bank. No suspicious activity.
Oh, shit.
Then the scammers rang back. And I was like, don't pick up. He picks up. And I said, put them on speaker. So he did. And they're like, oh, hello, mister. We are ringing. Did you receive the code? And I'm like, I know when someone tells you your account's been hacked, it gives you a little panic rush of like
does.
Scary adrenaline. And maybe that panic takes over and you're not listening.
And then you don't hear them say greetings of the day.
Look. All good. No scammer got the better of us. But this is not always the case, Geordie.
No, I know.
Scams are everywhere. Financial scams, love fraud, job application scams,
What?
and actual job scams. They all want you to give personal info so they can rip you off. And it's always about the money. So this week, I am looking at a psychic scam.
Oh, wow.
Yes, where one of the biggest mediums from the 1970s blew the whistle on what he called the Psychic Mafia.
Oh, my God. I love this. Tell me.
Yeah, now pretty much all my information comes from this excellent podcast on the BBC called Fake Psychic.
Oh, I love it. There are other podcasts, as we've been advertising all through this episode so far, but please don't leave us.
Don't leave us. There's room for everyone. I mean, I don't know how much house cleaning you do, Oh, especially Fonz.
But maybe don't listen in the car with your kids because there's a lot of swearing. Michelle's very foul-mouthed.
How fucking dare you? I am. But if you listen to Fake Psychic, because I do think, there are so many great podcasts out there. Another favourite, just off topic, I love Oh Yeah Dude, American original comedy podcast. Absolutely fucking fantastic.
I don't know it.
Get on that shit. Fake Psychic. It really drew heavily on this guy's memoir because there is not that much information about this guy out there on the interwebs. So I'm going to start at the beginning. Morris Lamar Keene, born in 1936 in Tampa, Florida. It seems so long ago, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Into a nice, white, middle-class family. Look, he had a fairly unremarkable life until he graduated from school. One day, he, walking along the street, saw a friend he hadn't seen for ages called Raoul. Not his real name. And you never find out this guy's real name. Raoul, it turns out, had been to Bible college and had become an ordained minister. And Lamar had always kind of, been religious. So when they met, it doesn't really say this in the podcast, but I think these two were gay because they hit it off pretty fast. And Raoul goes on to tell him about how through his religious teachings, he's become enamored with miracles, the kind of miracles where the deaf can hear and the blind can see. Lamar's like, are you for real? And Raoul was like, well, it looked real to me. And look, if it inspires people in the faith, what harm is there? Then Raoul goes on to tell Lamar about how there are con artists out there in the world, fake fortune tellers and the like, who are absolutely minted from conning people at circuses, big market tents and seances and mediums that could supposedly conjure up the dead. And at this point, it seems like Raoul is actually kind of on the fence about whether these mediums are all scammers or if some of them are legit. But then he says to Lamar, why don't we kind of give this a go? Let's get in business. I'll be the minister. You can be the medium. We'll get out there and we'll make some money. Exploit this whole spiritualist movement. But like I said, there's this element of doubt because they kind of do believe that there is another level to life. There is.
So they're almost believing their own spiel, so to speak.
But of course, there are some con artists out there. Real or not, the pair decide to join forces and give this whole medium thing a crack. And they actually decided to go and spend a year training as mediums together. And after that year, they pretty quickly realised that neither of them had any psychic ability. But what they did realise is that Lamar was a natural showman. He had natural charisma. He had the gift of the gab. He was really convincing and he could make people believe that he could speak to the dead, that he could channel spirit, he could read people's minds. So after taking these private lessons in mediumship under the guidance of a woman who actually was a very well-respected woman and considered a legit medium, they soon realised she was actually using dodgy techniques like billet writing.
What's billet writing?
Basically, I didn't know what it was either, but essentially it only works in a group setting like a church or some kind of group that's come together where the medium claims to use clairvoyance as a way to read and then answer questions written by someone in the church or the group. So basically, before the medium arrives, people are asked to write on a piece of paper a question that they want answered by a person from the other side, or maybe they're looking for guidance on something. So they write it down on a piece of paper, and it could be, my father passed away, is he happy on the other side?
Yeah,
or
yeah.
I don't know, whatever. They write down their question, put it in an envelope, lick it and seal up that envelope. And then the envelopes are gathered up and placed like next to the medium. The medium then picks out a random envelope and then puts that sealed envelope on their forehead.
Oh, like that game Skins. We call it Skins.
The envelope's sealed.
So you can't see what it says. Like you can't say,
No.
am I a politician?
Exactly. We called it tally-hos because you would write it on the back of a...
Well, yeah, that's exactly why we called it Skins here in England, because
Right.
it's Rizzler paper, or Rizzlers.
Rizzlers, yeah, exactly. So it's like that, except the envelopes are sealed. You can't see the question, right? So the medium gets it, puts this envelope on their forehead, And then somehow by osmosis or, psychic ability, that question inside that envelope is transferred to the mind of that medium.
Right.
So the scam works that the medium does this and then they're like, oh my God, this question is way too personal to share with this audience. I'm so sorry. I can't reveal the answer to this in public because it's controversial or, it's just...
Interest is piqued.
Yes. So what they do then is they're like, I'm sorry, can't reveal that. The spirits are telling me it's not meant to be known.
Dangling a carrot.
Then the medium takes the envelope, rips it open, and then silently reads the question and starts nodding like, yep, I knew it. I knew I shouldn't read this out. Then they throw that question away. Then they pick up a new envelope. But what's really going on is that...
They've read the last one.
Exactly. They've read the last one and now they're using that question as the next one.
Trick.
And it just goes on and on and on. And, of course, people are like, oh my God, this guy can really do this. And it's called apparently the one ahead method. People buy it. So... that was one of his tricks. But, he was using all sorts of dodgy methods to, get people to trust that he had this talent. I think once Lamar and Raoul realised that mediums out there were faking their readings and doing shit like billet readings and doing things like seance trumpets, which are basically cones that you point at someone.
Where's my kazoo?
Oh!
You've just reminded me about my kazoo. I can't find it.
Oh, that's our charm for the year. That's our 2025 charm. Bloody. Okay, seance kazoo. Basically, a seance trumpet, it's a cone, a metal cone, and you'd take it into a seance and it would point to a person and it would give ghosts a voice. But really, you could put it to your ear and hear the spirits, or you could hear, or you put it to your mouth.
Hear whispering.
And it would be like a fake voice. It's so fucking dodgy. People, these psychics were raking it in.
Yeah. People want to believe. That's the thing.
Well, funny you should say that. I'm going to come back to that. Raoul and Lamar basically discovered that there was a medium that they really respected and thought of as a genuine conduit to the other side. She wasn't doing those dodgy techniques. She was doing basically a plain old scam. She kept records of all her clients' personal information just to make her readings as believable as possible. She had index cards. She was getting clients from other people sort of within the spiritual world, and they were all trading information.
Oh, who is this person?
Don't ask me that.
It's not Doris Stokes.
I have her name, but I didn't. No. I didn't write this one down. I think her name was Dorothy. Lois, maybe. Yeah, so there was this whole kind of network of people who were sharing information. They would be like, oh, yeah, there's this client. She's going to come see you. Here's what I know. And they do it for their own clients too. And these facts would all be written down on index cards. And if they asked about, my animal Rover, Rover's name would be written down. So then the next psychic would be like, do you have a dog Rover?
Cheap.
Yeah, it is really cheap. This medium, she had loads of info on a lot of people. And she was willing to share this info with Lamar and Raoul. But... at a price, obviously. But the thing was that Raoul and Lamar didn't have any clients yet. They were just starting out. And they were like, fuck, we need to build something up. So they decided to start their own spiritualist church.
Why not? Because
Raoul's an ordained minister. And it started off as just a room at a women's club in Tampa. But pretty soon it got round. The word went round that these guys were good, really good, conning a room. And it was full. And they, in the end, found new premises. They expanded their church. The church was called the Good Shepherd Universal Spiritualist Church. And despite never having taken a single theological course in his life, Lamar started doing weddings and funerals.
Love his confidence.
For a fee.
Love that.
I know. But it's a confidence man. He even inducted others into his spiritualist clergy.
What it takes to become a leader of some kind of cult or religious organisation. Not much, just a bit of gumption, a bit of self-belief.
I know. And this is not the only dodgy stuff Lamar and Raoul would do, because they realised, fuck, we need more and more things to convince these people to keep coming and paying money in the collection plate and paying us a fee for seances and believing stuff. So they started to do really sus things to get personal info about their followers. Things like stealing a wallet going through, finding people's social security numbers and personal info in the wallet, and then bringing it up in like a congregation, like, I'm getting the number 62173. What could this mean? Is that someone's social security number? And then people would be like, oh, that's mine. That's mine.
That reminds me of a time that I was absolutely gobsmacked in an immersive theatre experience, which I can't name and I can't tell you what happened, but they did a similar thing before I went in.
Really?
And suddenly I was at my own funeral and they knew stuff about me that
oh my God.
At one point I thought, have I died?
Oh my God.
Before I was moved on to the next scene. I can't say any more because I signed a waiver not to talk about it years ago, but
yes,
it was amazing. Carry on.
that is the thing. Like, all you need is one little fact and people are like,
how do they know that?
Fuck, this guy's real. How'd they know that? He'd also do things like, someone dropped something in church, you know, he would steal it, or he would take someone's rosary beads, and then a couple of months later, the Lord brought me these beads.
Oh, gosh.
Who in this congregation? You know, all this kind of stuff. And people are like, oh my God. Or he'd wait and say to someone, oh, if they asked him, you know, in a group setting, he would direct the conversation. Is there anyone here who has lost something? The spirit has channeled me to bring it here. You know, like, just really vulnerable people who want to believe that he's like capitalizing on all of that. He even broke into the houses of members of his congregation.
Oh my God. Over and above, dudes.
He was obsessed. He was living on the edge. He never got busted. So this made him even more confident that he should keep doing this stuff. He would do things like send flowers to the house of, say, a newcomer to the congregation. He'd then pay the delivery driver a bit of extra to, oh, can I go to the loo? Steal an object, which would then materialize a few months later. You know, and then, oh my God, I thought I'd lost that. People are amazed.
This is terrible.
And then they empty their pockets and the collection plate. So the other side to this is, when you're a medium, people come to you hoping for answers or some kind of sign from people who've passed away. And some people are really in deep grief when they seek the help of a medium, you know, to try and get in touch with a loved one on the other side and to help them, you know, find peace or move on. And Lamar knew this. He knew that people would turn to him for help or answers on how to connect with dead loved ones. And in the documentary, there's this one particular woman called Lona who had lost her 17-year-old son, Jack. And Lona was rich, but she dressed like a poor person, apparently. She got in touch with Lamar 3 weeks after her son died, saying she needed his services. And she wanted answers because her son had had a sore throat. And Lona had just kind of dismissed it. But it was quite a severe infection and it went to his kidneys and he died.
Oh.
Lona just felt intense guilt that she hadn't phoned the doctor sooner, thinking that, you know, she could have saved him. And Lamar had helped Lona's friend Elsa speak to her dead husband, probably through that fucking trumpet. So she went to Lamar and said, help me speak to Jack. And she was like, but you have to promise me this is not a trick. Reverend Keene, because that's what he was calling himself, aka Lamar. And he was like, I promise you, I can tune into the vibrations emitted by spirit. And he said, I'll help you. He then went into a supposed trance so that Jack could speak through him. And then he'd put on a weird fake voice. And
oh, for fuck's
I
sake.
know. And during this kind of one-on-one, Jack told his mother how much he loved her. It wasn't her fault. She was the best mother a boy could have. And please, you must donate to Reverend Keene because he's building churches for the community.
Oh, God.
It's like it was the son's wish. And of course, you know, she bought it lock, stock and barrel. And she was so thrilled to be able to speak to her son. Lamar was regularly channeling Jack, always asking for more donations. But Lona did get a bit suspicious of Lamar once and said, oh, Jack, I want you to call me by my secret name that only you used to call me. And Lamar was like, oh, fuck, what do I do here? So he was like, oh, mama, maybe I will one day if that would make you happy. And then he was like, fuck, I've got to find this fucking name. Otherwise, all this money is going to drive up. So she, a few months later, had like a get-together at her house, and he feigned a headache, went up to her bedroom, rifled through her drawers, found a Bible.
Dirty bastard.
Saw a nickname written in the Bible and thought, I wonder if this is it. And it was.
Took a chance.
Yeah, and then she was like, oh my God, it's real.
Oh, no.
She kept donating. He kept doing it. But duping a grieving mother that she's speaking to her dead son, it's horrible. But of course, Raoul and Lamar needed more. They wanted to take what they were doing to the next level. So after a bit of struggle, they did finally manage to get an inn at Camp Chesterfield, which is literally a camp in Indiana for spiritualists and psychics from all over the US. Mediums lived there full time during the summer, and they would be doing readings, and it was huge, like acres and acres and acres and acres of people flocking there for this amazing spiritualist camp that went on for an entire summer, full of people looking to deepen their spiritual connection. And look, apparently not everyone was dodgy at this camp. Some really were channeling spirit, but others were, of course, just charlatans like Raoul and Lamar. And there was this matriarch at the camp called Mabel Riffle. And I think she was 50-50 on this shit because, according to Lamar, she knew that they needed to keep money rolling in. According to Lamar, in a memoir that he wrote called Psychic Mafia, he said Mabel had this underground crypt full of index cards with info on every person who'd ever been to Camp Chesterfield from all over the country, basically every con man's dream. She was also selling information to psychics all over the country.
Hence mafia.
Hence the mafia. So basically there was a network of mediums who all pooled their info. The cards were all neatly arranged alphabetically by geographical location. And like I said, it didn't just serve the camp. Apparently mediums who got the green light, dodgy mediums from Mabel, could just ring up Camp Chesterfield and say, hey, I've got this new client. Have you got any info on them?
Wow.
And they would send info. And in return, they would have to send info back about what they gleaned from the psychic reading.
Yeah.
Hot reading is what they call it. So, like you said, this is why Lamar coined the phrase psychic mafia, because it was organised. It was up and down the country. And if you wanted in, it was a 60-40 split of your earnings. Wow. 60 to them, 40 to you.
That's crazed.
We should look into Camp Chesterfield because it sounds really interesting. It was founded in 1891 and it's still going.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Despite all this.
Well, they deny that Lamar was telling the truth. They said he's making it all up and they only have genuine mediums and spiritual people at the camp. But of course, success and money flowed. But as Lamar got older, he did become disillusioned with everything because in his heart, he hated conning people. He didn't like being a fraud. And he started to feel guilty about duping people. And he actually described what he was doing as caught on the devil's carousel, on the carousel. So it all came to a head when he met this wealthy widow from Oklahoma called Florence Hutchison. She'd gone to Camp Chesterfield, desperate to connect with her late husband because she couldn't find his will. And she had this greedy nephew who was trying to get all her fortune. So she was like, I need to find that will. She went to Camp Chesterfield. She went to Lamar. She'd never been anywhere like this and never seen a psychic. So there was zero info on her.
Okay, she's a clean skin.
Clean skin. He was totally in the dark, but he was like, oh, fuck it, I'll take her money. She's rich. Asked me a question and she was like, I need to find a legal document. Can you help me? It's from my late husband. And he said the first thing that popped into his head was, you're after his will. It's in a portable metal filing cabinet. It has a false top in it. The key to that false top is at the bottom of the cabinet under some papers. And then open up that thing and you'll find the will. Well, Florence goes back to Oklahoma. She has got a filing cabinet from her husband. It has got a false top. The key's exactly where Lamar said it was.
What?
And he's like, how the fuck is this even possible?
Yeah.
By some miracle,
he faked it till he made it.
Yep, he was right. And Florence is like, you're the real deal. You are a true medium. And she also had lost her son. Apparently Lamar looked a bit like her late son. Florence just really started to take Lamar under her wing, treating him like her own son to the point where 4 years after they met, she's like, I'm going to adopt you. So in his late 30s, Lamar gets adopted, changes his name to Charles Lamar Hutchison, which is the name of the dead son.
Oh my God.
He's like, I need to confess to her now that I'm basically the son and heir to all this money. And he's like, I'm a fake. And he's like, I've been scamming everyone for money. But he apparently really did care about Florence.
Yeah.
And he was like, I want to come clean. I want to stop the scams. And he came clean to her. He told Raoul, I don't want to do this anymore. He didn't want to be dodgy. And so once he told that, obviously, he was no longer Reverend Keene. He got out of the biz. He wrote a tell-all book in 1976 that blew the whole lid off this psychic mafia, which, of course, if you fuck with the mafia, you're going to get in trouble.
Oh, for sure.
He went into hiding. He lived the rest of his life as a recluse, changed his name, had assassination attempts on his life, he claims, by the mafia. Ultimately, though, he just died of cancer in 1996.
Wow. What a story.
That's Lamar Keene, fake psychic, scammed.
Well, you know how we said we were going to do scams this week, and normally we both do very similar stories. Well, I took a leaf out of your book, Michelle, and I went completely off-piste.
Oh, so you don't even have a scam.
I do not have a scam. If you want to, you could
scammed
look
me.
at it. I've scammed you. Exactly. I've scammed you. And in a way, what I'm going to tell you today is a bit scammy, but it's on such a huge scale that you wouldn't see it.
Oh.
Because basically I'm talking about the pop industry. And it's because I saw a couple of newspaper headlines that took my interest. So I ran with it. And I got caught in so many rabbit holes that there is no rhyme or reason to what I'm going to tell you. I'm just going to tell you stuff.
Love this already.
Well, one of the articles that I saw that got me interested in doing this week's story was about Ronan Keating. And he said something like, I can't remember what the headline was. It was like something kind of salacious. Basically, when One Direction star Liam Payne fell to his death from a hotel balcony last year, 2024, in Argentina while not fully conscious, another boy band member, Ronan Keating, said to his former BoyZone bandmates, that could have been any one of us.
Okay.
The Irish boy band BoyZone were Keith Duffy, Shane Lynch, Mikey Graham, Ronan Keating and Stephen Gately. And they were created or manufactured, if you like, by manager Louis Walsh in 1993. They had 6 UK number one singles, more than 25 million records sold worldwide. And like Take That or Milli Vanilli and Bros, there is a new 3-part documentary out here in the UK on Sky called BoyZone No Matter What. And I've seen it advertised, but I actually don't think I'm going to see it. I don't think I care enough to watch it. I don't know. But maybe after this story I will.
Maybe just dip into the first episode and see if it's any good, and you can always abandon
Because
shit.
I'm not a fan.
No, me either.
You sure?
Definitely not of Louis Walsh.
No. Well, not many people are. But I'll go on to tell you some stuff. So this doc spills the tea and all the drama that being in a boy band entails, especially that particular boy band. So think rivalry, resentment, all-round toxicity, and that eventually led to the band splitting in 1999, which was the same year that Stephen Gately bravely came out as gay in a front-page Sun confessional, and I'm doing that in air quotes for a reason which I'll explain in a moment. It was also the same year Ronan Keating became the breakout solo star of the group. And if you remember, he had great tunes like Roller Coaster and Lovin' Each Day. And that song,
Don't know them.
I actually quite like, because it reminds me of another one. It goes, loving each day as if it's the last, dancing all night if it's it for them, and lit up, humming up, and it sounds to me like that new Radical song, Don't Give Up, You'll Only Get What You Give.
Which is a great song that has stood the test of time.
I agree. So this Ronan song, loving each day as if it's the last, that sounds almost identical to me. It's weird.
Okay, I'll have to check it out. Don't know it.
You can put them on Patreon, but as long as we don't get in trouble.
Boom.
Let's just say, not everyone in the group was cheering Ronan on in his great success.
Okay.
There'd been a lot of bad blood between the group over the years, and I guess the headline that I saw was interesting to me because, as Ronan Keating said, back in the 90s, no one talked about mental health. They had no media training, these young boys. They had no protection. And I think these young lads, and plenty more like them, and women, were thrown to the lions in so many ways. For example, Ronan Keating said, when I told the press I was still a virgin at 16, I thought it was a cute story. But of course, that followed me for years. I can imagine it was probably awful. But the most heartbreaking part of the documentary, which I haven't seen, as I said, is about Stephen Gately's forced outing. And back in the early days of BoyZone, his sexuality was a closely guarded secret. And as Ronan Keating points out, it's important to remember that homosexuality had only been decriminalised in Ireland in 1993.
What?
Yes, and being gay before that time was hidden for fear of being ostracised from your community or worse.
That is horrible. That is recent history.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, really.
We've come a long way. In the documentary, Ronan gets emotional while he remembers how the tabloids gave Stephen a nasty ultimatum. They said, either you come out willingly or we'll do it for you.
This is very George Michael, isn't it?
Yeah. Which is thoroughly brutal and potentially damaging for his personal life and his career. And then on June the 16th in 1999, The Sun ran a world exclusive with the headline, BoyZone Stephen, I'm gay and I'm in love. Can you imagine the pressure that young man must have been under? It's absolutely awful. Well, Ronan still remembers that time and recounted a story for the documentary. He said the band were at a hotel in Dublin with Stephen Gately's parents, and Stephen went into the room where his mum and dad were to tell them that he was gay. He wanted to get there before the papers came out with it, and he was apparently, according to Ronan Keating, he was an absolute mess, thoroughly distraught.
This is fucked.
He goes on to say, people should have gone to jail for what they did. Today they would have done. I remember the anxiety, him locking himself in a room, tears, screams, I can still hear it. We were so scared he was going to do something stupid. He was so frightened that the fans would react badly. However, the fans came out in support of Stephen. They were waving banners for him at their shows, rapturous applause on his behalf whenever he took to the stage. Louis Walsh, who you mentioned before no one likes, he was their manager, and he's also former panellist on all those pop idol shows. He comes off quite badly in this documentary, I believe. Again, I haven't seen it. And he and Ronan Keating are less than complimentary about each other. Yeah. There's a 2012 interview in Q magazine where Louis Walsh called Ronan Keating talentless and spoiled and made fun of his songwriting, saying, if you're Ronan Keating, who was working in a shoe shop when I discovered him, but end up thinking you're George Michael, then you need to be stopped. So there's a war of the words, and Ronan Keating responded by saying that Walsh was bitter. And I mean, even up until last year, 2024, Louis Walsh was apparently on Celebrity Big Brother. And he had another go at Ronan Keating.
Goes deep, doesn't it, this feud?
Yeah, telling his housemates that Ronan hadn't had a hit record since Ronan sacked Louis. So obviously there was a sacking. Doesn't make him sound bitter at all. Anyway, going back to Stephen Gately, sadly in 2009, he died of an undiagnosed heart condition, aged 33. And after that, the remaining members of the band got back together. And by their last tour in 2019, their relationships had soured significantly. Keating said certain members weren't even communicating at all. They were all in different dressing rooms. The laughter, the camaraderie, it's all gone. But in an article from February 24 in The Independent, this is the actual thing I wanted to talk about. Okay. This was the article I saved last year to talk about at some point, but it was such a short little piece and there wasn't much more, and I got dragged into this whole BoyZone thing. BoyZone member Shane Lynch, he accused in this article Taylor Swift of embedding evil messages in her music and performing satanic rituals during her concerts.
What?
I love it.
Oh my God, this is mad.
So he is now in his late 40s and a born-again Christian. He's a member of BoyZone. He was basically making these outlandish claims to the Irish Sunday World paper by saying, I think when you're looking at a lot of the artists out there, a lot of their stage shows are satanic rituals live in front of 20,000 people without them realizing and recognizing. You'll see a lot of hoods up, masks on, and fire ceremonies, even down to Taylor Swift, one of the biggest artists in the world. You watch one of her shows and she has 2 or 3 different demonic rituals to do with the pentagrams on the ground, to do with all sorts of stuff on her stage. As a result of this man's beliefs, he's had to quit listening to certain genres of music, such as hip hop and grime, Michelle.
I think that's the least he could do. I mean, I thought you were going to say he's had to quit his life because he's
Public
got
life.
hate
Got
mail.
a lot of crazy thoughts. But he believes that even the beats of that music attaches itself to your spirit and can change the way that you feel. And I don't know why I'm bringing this up. I guess I wanted to know how this chap ended up getting there. Because on another appearance on a podcast, Shane Lynch said that artists such as Swift and Sam Smith were so demonic, it's unbelievable. So he's really in deep in this demonic fantasy or demonic theories that he's believing as a born-again Christian. He's basically fallen into the trap of believing on a really basic level that all of these things represent evil intent. So calling Taylor Swift a Satanist is about as basic a conspiracy as theories get. Throw in a few red costumes, throw in some devil horns, a pentagram on stage. Suddenly it's proof of dark forces at work. But why can't it just be, Shane, I'm talking to you, theatrical storytelling, symbolism, or, just an interesting stage design?
Yes. Well, I just wonder, what has this guy been drinking? What do you know what I mean? Has he been brainwashed by something? Is he in some weird anti-cult? I don't know.
Well, he is a boy band member, and
that's a cult in a way.
It's tragic, exactly. It's a tragic story because those kids were plucked from obscurity, Ronan in his shoe shop days, etc., and thrown to the wolves, as Ronan Keating said. But what I was going to say about Shane Lynch is that his revelations are less deep and more really just a case of saying what you see. Really basic.
It is a joke. It's hilarious.
And poor old Taylor Swift, well, she's heard it all before. I mentioned devil horns just a minute ago because she got some heat for doing devil horns with her hands once, and not just from Shane Lynch, from loads of other people who thought that she was basically satanic. And I want to point out...
Couldn't that just be bunny ears?
Exactly, or whatever it is. I don't know, devil horns.
I
don't know.
know.
With your fingers. But I just want to point out that Shane Lynch is related to the twin girls who are in that other Irish girl band, Bewitched. Are they witches?
No.
Does that make them witches? Keaveney and Adele Lynch. And Shane used to be known as the bad boy of BoyZone. He's the one with the tattoos up to his neck and all the body piercings, if you know who's who in BoyZone, which you probably don't because you're old.
Really, but... Well, and also, just wasn't my genre of music.
Not my genre either, Michelle.
It was not my thing.
I do remember one of them coming to play piano in one of our stores when I worked at Mulberry, but I don't think it was him. It was Westlife. It was Brian McFadden or Fadden.
You just mix them all up, don't you?
They're all mixed up. I get so confused.
Put them in a barrel of monkeys and just pull one out.
But listen, this is where I go off on a tangent because Shane Lynch, I've already gone on one. From Ronan Keating and Stephen Gately and Louis Walsh, I've gone to Shane Lynch and his mad beliefs of Satanism in pop music. And I've gone from there to Shane Lynch being the violent, crazy one in Westlife. Which one is he in? Not Westlife. BoyZone.
No, BoyZone.
And it didn't sit well with the band's clean-cut image. And in 2001, he attended the MTV Music Awards, Europe Music Awards, and got into a brawl with none other, Michelle, than P. Diddy, a.k.a. Sean Hughes. No, not Sean Hughes. Sean Coombs. Sean Coombs, his name is. This is after P. Diddy apparently tried to hijack BoyZone's VIP area. How dare you?
He just wanted the blue M&Ms, didn't he? He just wanted to scoop up all the snow.
Well, I'll tell you what happened because Shane says. He said, Diddy turns up. He said they were ordering everybody to get out, and right in the middle of all the hassle was my wife at the time, Esther, who is Esther Bennett from the band Eternal, now his ex-wife. And Shane goes on to say, I saw red. My mood changed. I was like a bull in a china shop. It was really strange, and everybody stood back. Puff Daddy, as he was called then, was standing on a table holding a bottle of champagne. He pointed it and started to shoot it at me for whatever reason. So I jumped in the air and gave him a solid one to the jaw, and he fell off the table and all hell broke loose. I just love that image.
Oh my God.
This beefed up fucking boy band member flying through the air and landing one on Puff Diddy, who's up on a table in somebody else's VIP area, just showering them all with champagne and being a cock.
Like literally trying to have an ejaculation of champagne. What a dick. Isn't Diddy the one who's up for all these? Like,
Yeah, I'm getting there, Michelle. I'm getting there.
Oh.
I just want to finish on Shane Lynch. He also appeared alongside his current wife, Sheena White, in The Real Housewives of Cheshire, if you're a fan of that kind of thing, or if you're hankering after more of Shane. And apparently, Shane used to love dabbling with clairvoyance and Ouija boards back in the day. And as a result, he would be visited by evil spirits who tortured his mind in his teenage years, he claims. So he's got a bit of a magical thinking thing going on here.
Oh, yeah. He's fucked up.
That could be why he turned to Christianity in 2003.
I think he's, taken one line too many. Let's say that.
Absolutely. But why go? This is my question, Michelle. Why go for someone wholesome like Taylor Swift when the real monsters in music are so obvious that he even punched him in the face? And I am talking about Sean Puff P. Daddy Diddy Daddy Coombses.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's also like the other one. What's his name? I Believe I Can Fly. Who's
that one.
like the
R.
total
Kelly.
pedophile.
Yes.
R. Kelly. My God.
As we all know, federal prosecutors have accused P. Diddy, and by the time this comes out, we may have more information. I don't know. They've accused P. Diddy and his associates, who are getting more and more famous and well known as time goes on, of threatening, abusing and coercing women and others in his orbit to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation and conceal his misconduct. And people are saying that Coombs ran a secret crime ring, all while pretending it was just part of his complicated business operations. And we know about these freak-offs. We've spoken about them here before. And that he had these outrageous parties where guests were fueled by drugs and alcohol, and women and others were coerced into and often filmed performing non-consensual sexual acts. It's dark, right?
Really dark.
I had a look at some of the conspiracies swirling around the internet while we wait with bated breath to see what else is to be revealed on this daddy diddy doddy thing. The most talked about viral conspiracy theory is the one where, and I hope we don't get whacked, Michelle, Jay-Z, Beyonce and Diddy all had something to do with the deaths of Michael Jackson, Aaliyah and Lisa Left Eye from TLC. Have you heard this?
Oh, man. No, I haven't, but come on. This just sounds...
It's a bit reachy.
Crazy. Yeah,
and the proof for the theory are the lyrics of an actually kind of great song, because I looked it up and now I'm really into it, called She Knows by J. Cole. She knows, she knows. Apparently it sounds like She Knowles, Beyonce's maiden name.
Okay, Beyonce.
Plus some lyrics referring to the Beyonce song, Put a Ring on It. He says that in there. And also he says, rest in peace to Aaliyah, rest in peace to Left Eye, Michael Jackson, I'll see ya just as soon as I die. So he's kind of saying all these people, and now people are putting all that together and saying, obviously Diddy had them all whacked, but actually I think it's about having affairs, and he's just name-checking some people that he loved who are now no longer with us. That's what I think. Who knows?
I just think it's a name check.
But there's a theory that claims that Michael Jackson's security guard had once worked for Diddy, and that it was that security guard's delay in calling for help that resulted in Michael Jackson's death. And there are some weird theories around Michael Jackson's, they think, preventable death. Yeah.
Oh my God, there's so many theories around Michael Jackson. I mean, we've not touched MJ.
Let's not touch him
on this podcast because...
It's a bit like Scientology, don't touch.
Well, I think MJ touched
too many. Yeah,
enough.
He did enough touching for one lifetime.
Too many. So we don't need to reach out and touch that guy.
Some people think that Aaliyah was murdered.
Interesting.
Because she was a rival to Beyonce. Now, I'm not sure if Beyonce was even around or old enough at the time. I think that there's proof that she wasn't very old at that time. Aaliyah died in a plane crash, in case you didn't know. But her death would help Beyonce become more successful, and that implicates Beyonce and Jay-Z, and that it's kind of a secret that everyone in the industry knows about, which makes other aspiring musicians a bit nervous, and therefore they always thank Beyonce in acceptance speeches out of fear. For example, Adele broke her Grammy in half to share it with Beyonce in 2017.
What? Okay.
Lizzo thanked her in 2023, and Britney Spears and Lady Gaga praised her at the 2011 MTV VMAs. She's always sitting in the front row going, oh, don't, guys, don't. And they're all going, without you, Beyonce, we wouldn't be here. And there's many more.
I find that so strange because Beyonce's like, meh.
Well, is she a positive role model? Is that all it is for these stars? Someone to aspire to?
What do you think of her new country album?
I didn't listen. I don't know. I don't have a thought about it.
Have you not heard the Jolene retake?
No, I haven't heard it.
Jolene, you're a queen, Jolene.
Oh, fuck off. That's terrible.
Fuck you, Beyonce.
But there is a weird story about Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls' murder, which implicates Diddy and also Diddy's ex-wife, Kim Porter. I'm not going to go into it because it's too long and too confusing.
Okay.
And then there's the involvement of a young Justin Bieber who was under the tutelage, for want of a better word, of Diddy when he started out in the industry as a teen.
Fucking hell. It's like a spider web.
It's so complicated. If you want to look, then I will provide you with some links. But there's a quote from Diddy about Justin Bieber when he was 15. He said, he's having 48 hours with Diddy. We were hanging out, and what we're doing we can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me, and we're going to go full crazy.
Fucking hell. I don't even know what to think of that.
God only knows.
God only knows.
But my upshot, Michelle, today, from that long-winded and roundabout story of bits and bobs that had nothing to do with scams, is that the music industry desperately needs its own #MeToo movement. And it's shocking to think that the likes of Steven Tyler, Iggy Pop, Led Zeppelin and others were having it away with young teenagers in plain sight. It carries on now with Diddy and beyond and those poor boy banders. It's all going on. Now, I did watch a documentary which was called, I didn't write it down, I think it was called Look Away, and it was recommended by Safka.
Okay.
It was really hard to watch, and it was about Steven Tyler, Axl Rose, Iggy Pop, all of those guys. Basically, it was from the young groupies' point of view. They're so glamorous, but really they were teenagers and they were being
groomed and
mishandled, groomed, abused. Exactly. Steven Tyler made his 16-year-old girlfriend his ward before getting her pregnant and pressuring her into an abortion and then sending her home.
Fucking hell.
That guy is rotten. And that's all in that documentary, Look Away, which is based on a song I think I've told you before about that Iggy Pop wrote because he was seeing a very young girl as well back in the day. Sorry, guys who love Iggy. But it's the testimony, I'm going to finish with, of the Runaways bass player, Jackie Fuchs. She was in the Runaways with Joan Jett. This really tears at the soul. She described how, as a young girl, she's in the band, their manager, Kim Fowley, raped her at a party in a crowded room after he'd had her drugged. She finishes the documentary by saying, and now we stop talking about this because I think there are people out there who just feed off watching women cry, talking about their sexual assault. And I just want to say, if you're one of them, fuck you. Your time is over. So we wait with bated breath, Michelle. I'm dying to see what comes out and how we're going to take these people to task in a Me Too kind of way. I know it seems like it's all been there, done that, but this stuff has gone on for too long. It needs to be called out.
You can call it out, but I feel like there's not a lot of justice. You know, you've just got broken women with horrifying stories who deal with the aftermath, and these men are like, whatever. You know, I've had my success.
I'm rich. I can afford the...
whatever lawyers I need.
The lawsuit. Exactly.
The thing that I find so tragic is that when you're young, this idea of fame and fortune, it's so enticing. It's so exciting. It draws you in. Everybody wants to be a pop star, and you're selling shoes and Louis Walsh finds you and suddenly you've gone from being maybe the best looking kid in your class to this international pop star. You don't know what to do. It's such a double-edged sword. And, you know, I think just give me the money. I don't need the fame. Just the money. You know, fame and fortune. I don't think anything good comes from, you just don't hear of good stories.
It's almost like you have to sell your soul, you have to sell your body almost, or be ready to sacrifice some aspects of yourself.
Yeah.
In order to get the success.
Yeah. And I think that hopefully these days where, you know, particularly the music industry is a more democratic place for creatives to just be heard. You might not get the fame, you might not even get the fortune, but you potentially can fulfill your creativity through having a platform on the online, and maybe that's enough. Maybe we're hopefully seeing a shift where people don't have to be on the casting couch, you know, fuck a band manager to get ahead.
I mean, just to remind you that wasn't her choice. That wasn't her choice at all. It was obviously Kim Farley started a girl band.
Of course.
Because he was a predator.
Oh my God. Well, thanks for that comedy podcast.
Hooray!
Ending. Wow.
So that's it for this week. I hope that you guys are okay. I'm okay. You're okay. You're okay, Michelle? Are you okay?
I'm okay. I'm just going to have to at least look up that documentary because it sounds horrific.
Look away. It's amazing. It's quite a tough watch, though, I'll warn you.
Well, I'll put it in the Telerex.
And in the meantime, of course, you know exactly what you can go and do.
Wherever you are.
Whatever you do, just keep
eavesdropping.
eavesdropping.
Eavesdropping.